Hey, what's going on, everybody? So they just wrapped up practice number 11. Definitely have some observations that I will get into today. I watched some different things in today's practice than I usually do, so I'm going to get into that. But I really want to start with the 4 assistant coaches who spoke after practice today. It was great hearing from these guys: defensive backs coach Jamal Adai, also defensive line coaches Jason Taylor, Joe Salavea, and new linebackers coach Derek Nicholson. All 4 of them had a lot to say, so definitely stay tuned to the channel. I have the interviews of them on the channel, and also definitely a breakdown of what they had to say will be on the website InsideTheU.com, so check that out. So first off, I want to talk about Jason Taylor. A lot of excitement about him talking to the media. He's not done that since he's been at UM, so there are a lot of reporters there today. I would say over 15, which is more than a normal day. A lot of questions. Basically, he just really loves being a teacher, really trying to get the most out of the players. He really likes doing this whenever he's talking. It reminds me back on, with what Coach Guidry had to say. With Jason just has a really bright future. If he wants to be a defensive coordinator at the college level or NFL level, he definitely can do that. And just hearing him speak about, just instructing guys and players, and just watching him in practice, you can definitely see how he likes to teach and instruct, and again, trying to get the most out of each individual player. One thing that stood out to me with what he had to say was about the defensive line, how he wants to put the best 4 on the field at a time. And I think that's going to be something to pay attention to, because last year they had Daryl Jackson, a bigger defensive tackle. He's obviously transferred on to Florida State, and Miami doesn't have that big defensive tackle that you typically would see in Miami's defensive line group. They've got Leonard Taylor. He'll be back. He's working on a lot of stuff, really learning the game right now in the spring as he's been out with an injury. So that was good to hear from Coach Taylor. But I think it's going to be interesting if Akeem Mesidor, maybe they're going to be putting him inside maybe a little bit more. Maybe they're going to go with more of an athletic front if they don't have the big guy that you would typically see. So we'll see. Maybe there's still guys out there in the transfer portal that they'll identify to try to get. But on the current roster, they just don't have that big defensive tackle that you're used to seeing at UM. And I'm very curious to see what they're going to do, if it's going to be the same guys they have right now and just go with more of an athletic, smaller front, or if they're going to try to gain a guy in the transfer portal after spring ball, which I would assume Miami's going to try to be active in getting transfers, not just at that position, but other positions as well. Something I was thinking about when Coach Taylor was speaking was he's a former teammate of mine, in this sense that we played a pickup basketball game together years ago. There used to be a good media gathering. We'd play every once a week, and Taylor actually showed up. It was a big deal because he was a player at the Dolphins for the time during that time. So with him there, and sometimes other names would be there, but certainly a lot of reporters, all the guys that you kind of know about in South Florida, reporters. But Taylor was on my team, a guy that played down low, the athletic build and everything. So that was fun, definitely a cool moment. But anyways, back to the interviews. Coach Salavea also spoke about teaching the game and all of these things he likes to do as a defensive line coach. And both of them said they're not really worried about the titles that either of them have. Basically, it's just everybody on the staff is just trying to get the most out of the players. They're trying to do anything they can to get this program where they all think that it should be. So Salavea was talking about his guys, and that was good to hear what he had to say. Nothing glaring stood out to me there. I will say, though, with the defensive backs coach, Jamal Adai, one thing that stood out to me with him was Markeith Williams, a guy that didn't play much last year, his first year at UM. He said he's coming along. He said he didn't want to, inflate his ego too much or something along those lines, but he just feels like Markeith is doing a good job and progressing, and, at the safety position, which Coach Adai really works with the cornerbacks quite a bit during individual drills, as Coach Guidry is working with the safeties at the beginning of practice. But, Adai, defensive backs coach, and he's definitely paying attention and working with the safeties as well. But he really feels like the safeties, they really put a lot on the safety position, and he feels like Markeith is coming along, so that was good to hear. The flexibility, the position flexibility that Jaden Harris provides, the defensive back, is also good. He's been out here at safety. He can play corner as well, so that's something just to monitor with Jaden's progression. So that was good, just kind of hearing Coach Adai. And I do want to bring this up. So today at practice, what I was watching, was I was watching the coaches. I'm typically always out here watching the players, the position groups, and obviously the coaches are working with them. But today, I really focus on the coaching and maybe some of the things that they're saying. And I'm going to have more on the channel on that. So definitely just stay tuned. And I was able to hear what Coach Adai was speaking to his cornerbacks about, going through these individual drills, and he's just, he was praising some if it was a good rep, like most coaches do, but also, he would get on guys, if it wasn't good enough or he wanted to do them a different way, but very communicative. He's talking a lot. And that kind of was my takeaway from today of really, again, I'm out here, I'm paying attention to the coaches, but today, just really paying attention to what the coaches are having to say. And I would just say that it's just a very, the coaches are communicating with the players quite a bit. All the position groups that I was able to hear up close, again, not able to hear all of the position groups being taught, but I will say, even offensive and defensive line, when we're up close there, Alex Mirabal is really talking to those guys all the time. Defensive line coaches, Taylor and Salavea, a lot of talking and teaching and instructing. And I saw that today. Again, Coach Adai was doing that. Kevin Beard is a lot of fun to watch. Coach, because not only is he able to talk to the guys about what he would like in a drill, but he's also showing them. In particular today, he really wanted them to work on explosion. It was these short cuts, releases that the group would do together. And he was talking to them about getting out vertically quick, but also horizontal. He just wanted them to get out and explode quick. And he was working with all of the guys, even a guy like Xavier Restrepo, showing him extra footwork things on maybe some ways that he can improve. And I'm saying that because Xavier's known for doing that, a pretty good job of that in general. So Beard is not only talking to him about it, but he shows quick reps of this is how I want you to do it. And he'll quickly do that burst. And it just reminds me of him as a player. And to me, he's one of those guys that's a perfect example of a player that played at Miami, that didn't have that NFL career, but had the great mindset on what it takes to work hard and elevate yourself into having a key role on a good team. I just really like that. Certainly we can always talk about all the great players that came through the program. Is Miami going to be back and have those kind of guys, the headliners, the All-Americans, the first-round picks? But to me, there's a lot of guys like Kevin Beard that really added to the success of the Miami program during those times when they were winning a lot of games. And I just feel like hopefully, there can be more Kevin Beard types within this program, and not in addition to everything that goes on with being the headliner and the All-American, All-Conference type players. But watching him kind of go through drills just reminds me of those kinds of things. So that was good that he was teaching him those certain things about the releases, and just watching the other coaches as well today. One of the things that Coach Adai said, and Coach Nicholson as well, and I asked Coach Nicholson this, just what it's like working with Coach Guidry, because I see him out of practice, and it's pretty obvious to me, pretty evident to anybody that watches him at practice. He just expects a lot out of the players. He comes across as a tough coach, demanding. And one thing that Nicholson said when he answered my question was accountability. He said he just expects these guys to be accountable and do their job. Same way with how he approaches the other assistant coaches on the staff. He expects everybody to be accountable. And also you heard things like that from Coach Adai as well when he was speaking about Guidry. Again, it's different than what Coach Steele was last year. All philosophies work and can work. In coaching, we've seen that all across sports for years, that it doesn't matter what philosophy you have, but it's a different philosophy that we're seeing out here with Coach Guidry, and hopefully it's going to be better results because of it, because it is different, it is demanding. He expects a lot out of these guys, and we'll just see how everything transpires. As far as a couple other observations from practice, I do want to mention James Williams is out here this week. First time he's been out here in the spring. He's in the red non-contact jersey. Today I watched him go through the drills. He looks like he's moving fine. Again, the shoulder injury that he's coming off of. So basically, red non-contact jersey, goes through the individual drills, and then when they go into the team stuff, he went into the indoor practice facility, which I assume is to go in there and work on more of his rehab work. I'm not sure if he came back out at the end of practice. Again, we're only able to see the first 4 sessions, and they have about 20 to 25 each practice. So again, that's just what I saw with James. And speaking of shoulders, another thing I want to mention is Coach Taylor brought up the fact that defensive end Jafari Harvey is not out here in the spring, but he's getting both shoulders, getting them both better from last season. just that he dealt with a lot playing on games, and he feels like he's going to be completely healthy by the time fall camp rolls around. But he's doing a good job and progressing in the ways that he can away from the field. So those were a few noteworthy things from what the coaches had to say. But like I said, you're definitely going to want to stay tuned and listen to their full conversations as they address a lot of different players, especially these new coaches that we've not heard from. So that's always good. But again, we don't get the assistants too often, so anytime they speak, I think it's great just so they can provide great perspective on what they're seeing from their players, as well as maybe it matches or maybe it's different than what we see with our own eyes out here. So thanks again for watching. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of the day, and take care.